Hey guys, welcome to the channel, Sunny here, and this time we're taking a look at Drakania Awakening. I've been playing Drakania Awakening ever since it came out, so I'm finally ready to bring you the all-inclusive guide. We're going to be covering the builds, we're going to be covering crystals, artifacts, skill add-ons, and even some PvE and PvP combos to get you started on Drakania Awakening. Let's get to it. So first, let's talk about how to build the Drakania Awakening. And lucky enough, it's a DR class just like Drakania Succession. So if you already played the class, you can use the exact same gear, no problem. In terms of gearing path, I would actually build her exactly as I've gone over in my gearing guide. The link is going to be in the description. So if you're coming straight off of season, I would follow my gearing path guide here exactly. It is all that you would need on her. Now, let's take a quick look at crystals. So the gearing I'm using right here is like what I would like to call in-game gearing. This is where you get into the meat of it, still all the accessories and everything. So note this is way above average, but it's a good point to illustrate how to gearing and also looking at hit rates we get to. So this right here is basically the cookie cutter setup that I will be running on her. She actually has pretty damn good accuracy modifiers on her debuffs and self buffs. However, they are somewhat hard to land and her general accuracy is kind of low. So unlike with the Succession build, I would definitely not skip out on the easy to gain accuracy. So in my gloves, I would go Jin Vipers, and for PvP, I would definitely be running Special Evasion in chest. In helmet, you can run a lot of different things here. 2 Whoms is just all around good, but with this setup, we're not going to get the 4 Whom setup. So you could run resistance or you could run human damage RBF crystals instead if you want to lean more into a different type of build. Now for the boots, I would run Adamantites in this one. This is great for PvE as well. And she does have a lot of openings in her kit in terms of protection. So having some resistance against the most powerful CC in the game, knockdown, is definitely a good idea. Next up, we got the weapons. Elkas in main hand, and for PvP, Glorious Oracle's Crystal. If you are focusing on PvE, I would be running Glorious Arcade Crystals instead. And in the offhand, for my Nuver, I would actually be running Ignore Grapple Resistance. Awakening has a grab, and having like an ability to land a grab is so good. A lot of people started running Grapple Resistance in their kits for PvP nowadays. And there's no minus ignore grapple in the Drakania kit, so running 2 crystals is a deal breaker in terms of landing grabs. I would definitely be going for that when going PvP focused. Now, in PvE, the only real difference here is I would be running Kudum or Blackstar offhand and running Corrupted Crystals. Now, when it comes to the accuracy for PvE focused, you could be running Valor Crystals in gloves and skip out on the accuracy. However, I don't think I would suggest it, especially if you do any type of PvP. Those Vipers are definitely going to pay themselves off. But I just wanted to show you here in terms of hit rate for PvE. So let's look at the accuracy in this kit. You have 2 stances in Awakened Drakania. You have the blue stance and the red stance. The red stance has a bit more accuracy, 3 to 5% more versus the blue stance. Blue stance got around 7 to 12% and red stance got 10 to 15% on the abilities. So in terms of skill and accuracy, I'm going for 10% on the abilities. And then of course we're going to add in a skill add-on, 4% each place. You could go 5% because a very unique thing about Drakania Awakening is that she has 2 very, very useful T3 skill add-ons in her kit, and she will be using them pretty much on cooldown, both of them. So you can afford to go the T3's accuracy add-ons if you need it. But let's settle for the T4. Now, in her kit, she also has a 9% evasion spread and a 9% accuracy self buff. And that means she can get up to 18% more accuracy. In other words, we're going to put in 28% here. Now, if you look at the numbers, she is pretty much capped out everywhere. Well, except Alden's Valley, where you're probably going to have a Shy helping you with accuracy buffs, so you're going to be capped there. And then, of course, Crypt. Quint Hill is almost capped out. And remember, this is without using Vipers in gloves. So I just wanted to show this, that you could skip out on some accuracy if you're PvE focused, but I don't think I would recommend it. You're not always going to be able to keep those buffs and debuffs up in her combos. So honestly, it's just better to err on the side of caution and keep the Vipers in, if you ask me. Now let's take a look at artifacts. For artifacts, I have the PvE and the PvP setup. Now the PvE setup is kind of expensive, but it is incredibly strong. If you want to get maximum effort out of Drakania Awakening, you need this artifact setup. So for PvE purpose, I always run monster AP on the artifacts, and the Lightstone combo for Drakania Awakening that you really want to get your hands on, it's this one, Deathblow. It gives you 10% crit chance and 10 damage, and with the actual crystals in it, it is 14% chance to crit and 16 months of damage. The issue is you need 2 of these Blade Lightstones. They are most likely going to be sold out. Last time I checked, they were around 2.5 billion silver. With bits on it, they're probably going to go to 5 billion. But if you can get your hands on these 2, this is by far the best Lightstone combo for PvE Drakania Awakening. And this is actually the best combo for any class in the game that doesn't have 100% crit rate on abilities. Now, part of the kit here for Drakania have 100% crit, but the highest damage one, or the highest potential damage one, doesn't. So if you can get your hands on this, do it. Now, for PvP best in slot, I would be running melee accuracy on both artifact slots, and the combo I would be running is target openings. It's the AP one with accuracy, stamina, and then critical hit damage. If you cannot get your hands on critical hit damage, which I couldn't, so personally I run it with the Frenzy one, which is the same stats except it's all special attack damage. Great alternative if you cannot get your hands on a strike. Now, why is it that you want accuracy in the PvP setup? Well, it's actually very simple. The Drakania Awakening kit does not have a lot of accuracy on abilities, and for hit rate, you very much rely on your evasion shred and your accuracy self buff. The problem is they're very hard to land in PvP scenarios. You can get them in a 1 versus 1 combo, but both of those abilities are unprotected. And you can put a protection on one of them, the evasion shred, which is probably the second best option for a core ability, but I'll cover that. However, you're probably going to be using that on another one. So in general, you want to get a bit of accuracy into your kit here. You will benefit from it in PvP, and when you really need to, you can bust that up with the shred and the self buff in a 1 versus 1 combo. So if you're looking for an all-purpose one, this right here is the one you want to get. It is super cheap, and you can buy all of these stones on the marketplace. They are sitting at 5 million each, always available. It gives you 14 AP, 12 accuracy, and 75 stamina. And all of this works in PvE and PvP, so it's just great all around. You can just run this and forget about anything else. This is an amazing placeholder until you can acquire the best in slot crystals. So this is my PvE skill add-ons, and I thought I'd share them with you and explain my thoughts behind them. Now, as always, you can customize these add-ons to suit your combo, your playstyle, and what you need. But I found these to work perfectly fine for me in all areas of grinding. Now, let's take a look at the 2 big ones first. I got Doombringer and Sundering Roar. Those are 2 T3 add-ons that's going to give you the biggest buff possible. Now, on both of these, I've added monster damage plus 30 and also critical hit rate 30%. When I use these, I use them at separate times in my combos, and by having it on both these abilities, I can keep those 2 buffs up at pretty much any time, at all the time. Now, why are they great? Well, 30 monster AP, it is the biggest AP buff you can get. A T2 is only going to give you 20. So this is 10 more AP in PvE. And same with the critical hit rate, it is 20 if you use it on a T2 add-on. Now, the 30% critical hit rate is extremely good. The Drakania Awakening kit is a bit interesting. If you are not using critical hit chance, skill add-ons, also 5 crit rate, and potentially the Lightstone combo with 40% crit, the blue abilities actually deal more damage. They have 100% crit rate on them. But if you can get up and get 100% crit rate on your red abilities with skill add-ons, etc., they actually deal way more damage than the blue ones. So if you really want to go into like end-game grinding stuff, you want to get maximum DPS, and you need the crit rate for that. And that will unlock the power of your red Hexblood abilities. Now, if you're doing earlier grinding, you probably won't need this, and you can just rely on 100% crit rate on your blue abilities, and then change these around if that's what you're wanting to do. Now, next up, we have Aerial Burst up here. I am using minus DP on this one and an attack speed. My combos normally start with Doombringer into Aerial Burst, so I want to get the attack speed right out as soon as possible. And Aerial Burst is also a minus DP ability, so why not add more minus DP to that ability? I'm using it for DPS rate anyway, so it's just going to stack on top of that. Next up, we are having Sundering Roar. It is probably the hardest hitting ability in the kit, outside of Sundering Roar in the blue version. It hits extremely hard if you can get your 100% crit rate up. So for this one here, I use it normally right after getting both my crit rate up, my attack speed up, my damage up, and all that. And I figured we would put some accuracy, shred, and buffs on it, because it's always great to have in a kit. We looked at the accuracy hit rate previously, so just getting some more in there is always a good idea. And I prefer to do that early on in the combo whenever possible. Right, last one here, well, not quite the last one, but the last one in my combo is Tip of the Spear. For this, it's normally one I use as a filler. So I put on whatever I kind of need for it. Attack speed is always great. Try and keep it up 24/7 whenever you're grinding and PvEing. And as I use this as a filler, it allows me to just reproc the attack speed. Other than that, critical hit damage, because most of the important things were already covered. More damage is always great when grinding. Now the last one is this one up here, Storm Maul. It's a movement ability actually, WRMB. You could also have gone on this one here. There we go, Tectonic Slam, which is WE. It's also a movement ability. This one here is also your evasion shred. So you could definitely put like more evasion shred and your accuracy on this ability if you're planning to use it in combos. That's what I would do. But for general purpose, sometimes I use this ability, WRMB and WE, to engage into a group if I'm grinding lower areas that I don't need to do long combos in. I don't need the accuracy. And this one has 1 second shorter cooldown than the WE. So that's why I added on this one. It's a great engage ability. So start off with some armor shred and attack speed. Speed up your next abilities, which is part of the real combo that I'm going to show you guys. Hi guys, so for a basic PvE combo that you can use leveling up the Drakania and playing with the Drakania, you want to make sure that you're utilizing your movement abilities. There's going to be a lot of pack-to-pack movement. So some movement tricks for this. You can do your shift space to fly in and then open up with shift Q right after. Shift Q is a great way to end the flight early. Basically, whenever you want it, you can just go straight into Shift Q and initiate a pack that way. Another great way of going pack to pack is WRMB, WE. Again, pretty much every time we go straight into Shift Q, no matter what we do to get into the pack, Shift Q right after to start out the damage and get those T3 add-ons going. Or one of my favorite ones, WF. Honestly, I just love WF. It's unprotected, but it just looks and feels so good. So those are like your movement stuff that you need to get down. W, R&B, W, E, and W, F, and of course, shift space. Now, depending on where you are grinding and what you are, killing speed, your gear and everything, you might be able to like cut off a lot of the abilities, or maybe just using simple abilities to one-shot packs. The best abilities to one-shot packs are going to be your big AoE abilities, Shift Q, and also Shift F. Like absolutely great abilities to just kill big AoE packs and then move on to the next. Now, when we get into the area where you need to do a bit longer combo, the one that I've been using and really enjoying, also because it fits into my PvP combo quite nicely, is here. We move to the pack, and we start out with Shift Q into Shift F, into SF, into SE, and then into SF again. Now, after that, if the packs are still not dead, you can infinite loop this combo. And the infinite loop of this combo is going to look something like this. So Shift F, sorry, Shift Q, Shift F, SF, 2 hits, SE, SF, and then you can go R&B into LMB, and then you're back around. You go Shift Q, Shift F, SF, SE, and at this point here, your SF is going to be on cooldown, so you just do Shift Q, or R&B, sorry, and LMB into the Shift Q, and again we go Shift F, SF, SE, SF, and LMB into R&B. So the full infinite combo is going to be like this: Shift Q, Shift F, SF, SE, SF, Shift LMB, and Shift R&B. And then rinse repeat, except without SF, the Dragon's Breath, in the second rotation, because it's going to be on cooldown. And that right there, it pretty much works everywhere. When you get into the really in-game spot, you might want to add your WE for the evasion thread into the combos and play around with it a bit. But this one right here, it's going to get you covered for most of the grind spots in the game. I hope you enjoyed. So this right here is the PvP setup that I'm running on my Drakania, and I'll explain why. So first off, we got Sundering Roar up here. This time we can't consistently always make the same combo, right? So I'm trying to add critical hit rate in wherever I can. Sundering Roar is such a hard-hitting ability. Getting that crit rate on that ability ensures that we'll at least have 20% more crit when we're using it for that high damage combo. And then 10 more human damage. Damage is always great. It's a damage ability added on it. Now, these are like the more important abilities. The last one here, somewhere. You can mix that around, try something else out. But the other ones, I would definitely be putting add-ons on. Aerial Burst. Now, for PvP purpose, this is an incredibly good catch. As we covered earlier, the core add-on for this makes it a CC. So it's like a good AoE CC as well. So you're going to be using it all the time. Cast speed, I love it. AoE hit, so good chance of landing it, and that means proccing the attack speed. And then it's a DP thread on top, so more DP thread on it. Storm Maul, this is the movement speed, movement abilities here. They're great for trying to get in position, doing catches and everything like that. Critical hit and attack speed. We're going to try and keep those two abilities up at all time in PvP. That way we're going to have the damage, and we're going to be able to land the combos when we catch people with the Drakania. Doombringer here. This one I put on max damage, human damage, and cast and attack speed on this one. Again, these are two stats I really want to max out. You can do a lot of damage with Drakania Awakening. This is an ability that you're going to be using quite often. It's a protected ability, it deals good damage. T3 add-ons. These two you can mix around and maybe add critical hit rate on this one, or some other things. It's just a great ability all around, and pretty much anything will go on this one. Now, this one is one of them that's different from the PvE ones, Tectonic Slam. Tectonic Slam is a movement ability as well, and in PvP combos, you're going to want to use this for the evasion shred if you're fighting evasion targets. So I've added all my accuracy stuff on this ability. Catching somebody in a 1 versus 1 and using this is going to increase your damage significantly. So you'll probably want to make some specific combos for PvP when you're fighting those evasion stacking targets, so you can sneak this one in and start shredding them. Last one up is Sundering Roar. I've added movement speed and attack speed reduction on this one here. It's a relatively slow ability, but it's insane damage, it's good range, but most importantly, it's protected, and it already has movement speed and attack speed slow on it. So whenever you have an ability that has a debuff, that debuff always stacks with skill add-ons. So by adding more slows on the ability that already slows, we basically get 25% slow instead of 15. So I prefer to try and stack these abilities just like I do up with Aerial Burst, which is my DR Shred. I just add more DR Shred on it. Okay, for this combo right here, it is important that you're using the core Aerial Burst, otherwise it just won't work. Now, this combo is going to be coming off a catch, which means we don't start with the grab. So we'll still have to grab. You can always make like a grab CC and then go for combo for there. But this one I really like. It utilizes some movement abilities. You can get that ranged catch CC. And also I'm a lazy bastard. So I love to have like the core of my damage abilities be the same between PvE and PvP. And this right here does just that. So I only need to have like one ability or like one combo in my muscle memory, and it suits all the needs we have. So for this catch to work, you can do it either with WE or WRMB. Now, which one is best? Well, I prefer WRMB because it has an iframe to it. As you can see, part of it is an iframe. And WE does the same. It's a movement ability as well with a CC at the end. However, it's unprotected because we don't have the core for it, since we need the other core to make this combo. However, you can use both. You can mix it up. Whichever one hits. You can also use them to reposition, and I'm going to do that here right in the first showing of the combo. And after that, we'll just go into it and I'll explain what it is I'm doing. So first off, like we do a reposition here, we go in, we catch, and then we unload the damage. And we get away. So, what was it I did? Well, we started out with the CC. So, WRMB into the floating CC. And after this, we go straight into Shift Q. By using Shift Q like right away, we can cut off some of the unprotected frames after the iframe runs out, as you can see here. So if you notice, after my WRMB, there is like an iframe, and then there's a section that is unprotected. So by going straight into Shift Q, even if we hit the CC or not, we limit the chance of getting CC'd ourselves. And Shift Q is protected. So yeah, that's basically how you want to do it. You want to try and see if you can get that catch, and always go Shift Q right after, because even if you miss it, at least you're protecting yourself, and then you can disengage and try again. So we're gonna go in here, and then insert Shift Q. After Shift Q, we go into Shift F for the stiffen into the knockdown, and then we do SF to hit, SE into SF. And then we can iframe away and get out safe. It's actually just very straightforward. I'll show it here again and explain. So WRMB, Shift Q, Shift F, SF, SE, SF. Then we can get away. One of the really cool things about the Drakania kit is actually the core abilities. Now, let's just get PvE out of the way. It doesn't matter too much which one you pick. It's a bit of a preference. Probably the most useful one is Tip of the Scale. Personally, I really like using Core Spiteful Soul. I use the ability quite a bit, but also Savage Degree, perfectly fine. I would say test it out, feel which one you like the most. It adds some more protection in your combos. Now, for PvP, there are two, well, technically three, but two big choices to make. There is either Tectonic Slam, it adds protection to the movement ability, or Aerial Burst. And that will add a CC to Aerial Burst, a Stiffen on the first one, and a Knockdown on the second one. Most people, me included, will go for Aerial Burst. It's a super powerful ability as is. Good protections, armor shred, good damage, and now you also have a double CC catch in it in a big AoE. So by taking this, it's going to give me a Stiffen on the first hit, and then the follow-up hit is going to be a knockdown, as you can see here. Stiffen into a knockdown. Now what's really cool about this one here, I'll show you a few tricks that you can do with it. So first off, if you want to proc the Stiffen, there are some limitations to it. If you use one ability and then go into this one, it skips the first part and goes straight into the knockdown. So for example, if I were to do tip of the scale into it, it's a straight knockdown. It skips the Stiffen part. Now, if I'm coming from the other stance and go Shift F, it doesn't skip the first part. So like, let's say I go Shift Q into Shift F, it does the Stiffen into the knockdown. There is another really cool thing about this, and it is the Flow Obliterate. Now, the way Flow Obliterate works for Aerial Burst is that it replaces attack number 2 with a completely new ability, Obliterate. Now, that will still get the knockdown from the Aerial Burst, but it changes how the ability works. So if I'm using the Flow Obliterate with this core on, it looks like this, and it's a pretty solid AoE. Well, let's say I'm standing here and I'm trying to catch someone, right? We're gonna hit the Stiffen, but the knockdown isn't as far. It is a 360 AoE, but it's a way shorter one. It deals a lot more damage though than not having it. But if you lock it, we're gonna lock it now. What it does is we still get the CC from these, but it will do the normal second part of the attack. Now this deals less damage, but it has a really, really cool feature to it. And that is range. So instead of being a 360 second hit, it is now a long range snipe for a knockdown. So it looks like this, right? We go into the Stiffen and then a long range snipe for the knockdown. Now, why is this really cool? Well, it's really cool because you can skip the first part, as I talked about earlier, and go straight into a long range snipe knockdown. So let's say you're engaging in with the iframe, right? You're gonna engage in here and you're just gonna snipe it with Shift F. So having Aerial Burst as a core unlocks so many PvP CC combinations and options, and it basically becomes a player's choice. Do you want to play with the long range knockdown snipe, or do you want to play with the higher damage and closer range 360 AoE? And honestly, both are great, and it's just another thing to mess around with and figure out like which one you enjoy the most. But in general, this one here is going to be the right choice either way. But again, alternative, especially because of combat movement being a bit restricted on this class. Tectonic Slam, do not underestimate it. I would definitely suggest trying it out. Hey guys, so there is a final thing I do want to just tell you guys about Drakania. That every time I've been playing it, I've been getting comments and questions about this. Most of you probably know, but in case somebody doesn't know, Drakania has a really cool passive. Down here, it is the Ceaseless Vengeance. Now you need to be level 60 on a Drakania to be able to do this, and it's only a Drakania ability. But what this does is that it allows you to eat these dragon scale fossils. It takes 15 of these dragon scale fossils, and it's going to make you a portable church buff, Shattered Dragon's Malice. So it is character bound, that means you cannot give it to other characters or put in stores or anything, but it allows you to use a church buff, as you can see here, anywhere in the world without having to go to church first, and you can stack them up and use them. They do not expire. So if you're out grinding or PvPing, these are great to have on yourself for your buffs and everything. I just thought I would include that because it seems a lot of people are not aware that this is actually a passive the class has. So there you go. Portable church buffs. Guys, I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. And also, I stream several times a week at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. You are more than welcome to drop by with any questions or comments, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.